Tit for tat and say he said, she said, he said, she said. I think in the reality and the scheme of things, it's a fight that we have to have. We're both in the same generation, the same era, we're both heavyweight champions of the world. So with that being said, as I said, like, there's no fantasy contracts. It's a situation where it's reality. Like, I don't like coming to a stage in my career when I'm just talking about what I'm worth and negotiations and what we're bringing to the table.
No, is the fight is signed by both fighters. So both fighters. I mean, Fury's already said he signed it. We've now signed our end as well. So the fight is done. The location of that will be down to Turki Al-Sheikh. You know, I think the one thing I'll say about Turki Al-Sheikh is he's a mad boxing fan. And he knows that fight in the UK is historic. So I think he wants to give British fight fans something they'll remember forever. However, he's also the one...
And while I'm on a rant, I may as well call out one more person. A big useless dosser. Not a real fighting man, a hype job, body build, CrossFit. Big, ugly shithouse. That's Anthony Joshua. AJ, if you're out there...
Turki Al-Sheikh, the Saudi Arabian minister, put out a teasing tweet or X from his own account that, there you go, British fight fans, the fight is finally signed. And he wasn't on about Christian Prenga. He was on about Fury versus AJ. I expect AJ to get the job done with alacrity, with speed against Prenga, and then it's all roads lead to Fury versus Joshua in November.
Is when this fight does happen, and it's the war of words, I'm backing Tyson, because Tyson's got a proper potty mouth, hasn't he? Tyson's got a potty mouth, so Tyson will be the one that is saying all the things you think, oh, no. And AJ, I personally think AJ needs to try and be very cool with it, because he ain't going to beat Tyson's potty mouth. Tyson will say everything and anything to try and get under your skin. And so this will be a part of, it might be a story of two halves. Tyson wins it, the war of words, and when it gets into the ring, we'll see what happens. You've got to look at what both...
Stop everything. Because after years of negotiation, years of false starts, years of both men circling each other commercially, while the entire British boxing public screamed at their screens, demanding they just get on with it. The words that fans have been waiting half a decade to hear have finally arrived with official confirmation from both sides. Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua is signed. Not rumored, not reportedly close, not almost done pending final details. Signed, confirmed, delivered. Eddie Hearn with the announcement from Joshua's side. Spencer Brown from Gold Star Promotions confirming the same from Fury's side. Q4 2026, Netflix, and a location decision, still to come, that will determine whether this fight delivers the kind of visual and historical setting that the magnitude of the matchup genuinely deserves. This is the fight that British boxing has been building toward since both men were simultaneously at the top of the sport. The fight that should have happened when both were undisputed champions, when the commercial logic was so overwhelming and the public demand so consistent and so loud that anyone looking at the heavyweight division from the outside would have assumed it was simply a matter of when rather than if. It didn't happen then. It got complicated and delayed and redirected by the kind of promotional and political machinery that surrounds elite boxing at this level. Years passed. Both men faced setbacks. Both men rebuilt in different ways from different positions, and now, perhaps not at the precise moment the sport would have chosen if it could have scripted the ideal version of this story, but finally and officially, and without any remaining ambiguity about whether it is actually going to happen, the fight is real. Tyson Fury calling it himself. Anthony Joshua responding. Both men signed. The boxing world holding its breath, waiting for the date and the venue to complete the picture. And somewhere in the middle of all that anticipation, Fury has already decided that waiting for the fight to start before beginning the psychological warfare is a luxury he has no interest in taking. Fury's verbal assault on Anthony, Joshua in the build-up to the signing, and in the immediate aftermath of confirmation, has been delivered with the specific brand of gleeful aggression that makes him simultaneously the most entertaining and the most genuinely unsettling opponent any fighter can be asked to prepare for. Big, useless dosser, bodybuilder, CrossFit, big, ugly house. These are not insults constructed with care and precision for maximum analytical impact. They are the verbal equivalent of sustained heavy punching, designed not to make a specific point, but to occupy Joshua's mental space completely, to force him to either respond and get drawn into Fury's natural territory, or ignore it and allow the impression of someone absorbing punishment without answering to settle into the public narrative. Johnny Nelson identified the dynamic with complete accuracy. Fury wins the war of words. Every single time, against every single opponent, in every build-up to every significant fight of his career. His willingness to say absolutely anything, to escalate without limit, to find the specific combination of words that gets under an opponent's skin and stays there, is a genuine competitive weapon that operates well before the first bell rings. And Joshua, whatever his considerable qualities as a professional heavyweight, has never been the fighter who matches that energy effectively. His composure is genuine and it reflects real psychological stability. But composure and dominance in a verbal confrontation are different qualities, and Fury does not allow composure to read as strength. He allows it to read as someone absorbing punishment without responding, which in the psychological register of a heavyweight buildup carries its own implications. Nelson's specific advice for Joshua is revealing. Be very cool with it. Don't try to beat Fury at his own game because that game is not winnable for anyone except Fury. The strategic response to a man who will say everything and anything is not to match the volume or the aggression. It is to stay so locked into your own process and your own preparation that the noise simply does not find a way in. Whether Joshua can genuinely maintain that discipline across an entire camp while Fury escalates, as he inevitably will, is one of the most important questions in this entire build-up. Not because the verbal exchanges determine the fight, but because the mental state each man carries into the ring reflects how effectively they managed the period of intense psychological pressure that precedes every major heavyweight championship clash. Joshua's response to the verbal attacks has been built on something that Fury's approach cannot easily dismiss or ridicule: facts and statistics. 7 world title defenses. A world championship won in his 16th professional fight. A career built on genuine elite competition against credible opposition across multiple continents and multiple contexts. When Fury calls him a bodybuilder and a hype job, Joshua's counter is not more aggressive insults or escalating theater. It is the quiet confidence of a man pointing at a record that speaks for itself, regardless of how loudly someone else is talking over it. His framing of this fight as same generation, same era, both heavyweight champions of the world, carries the weight of someone who has been waiting for this specific moment for a long time and is no longer interested in the conversations that delayed it. He made the point with a directness that cut through everything surrounding it. This is not a fantasy contract situation. This is not a negotiating position. This is reality. 2 men from the same world who have both operated at the highest level of the same sport during the same period, finally doing what the competitive logic of their shared careers always demanded they do. His point about being here long after certain other people have moved on carries an edge that is unusual for Joshua's typically measured public positioning. It suggests a man who has absorbed years of questions about his longevity and his resilience and his ability to come back from adversity, and who has quietly developed a certainty about his own staying power that he is only now fully willing to express in public. Whatever happens in this fight, Joshua wants it on record that he has not been managing decline. He has been building toward something. And this fight is the thing he has been building toward. The location decision hanging over, this fight is the final piece of the puzzle that will determine the full visual and historical scale of what is being constructed here. Wembley Stadium is the name that keeps returning to the conversation from every direction. Eddie Hearn has made his preference clear. Wembley in the UK would be really special, historic. The kind of setting that two British heavyweight champions of the world fighting each other for the first time genuinely deserves. Potentially 90,000 people inside one of the world's most iconic sporting venues watching two men from the same country settle a question that their shared era in the sport created and demanded be answered. The practical complications around Annisesta outdoor UK venue in November are real and cannot simply be wished away by the romantic appeal of the visual. British weather in late autumn is not the kind of reliable backdrop that a fight of this commercial magnitude can afford to be subject to. The Millennium Stadium in Cardiff, with its retractable roof, has been mentioned as an indoor alternative that could provide the intimate intensity of a closed venue while still delivering the scale the fight requires. And Riyadh is always in the conversation given Turki Al Sheikh's central role in financing and facilitating the biggest fights in the sport right now. A Riyadh season event in a large Saudi stadium brings its own specific atmosphere and its own specific commercial logic that cannot be dismissed. Simply because British fight fans desperately want this to happen on home soil. What is beyond dispute is that Turki Al Sheikh, who Eddie Hearn described as a mad boxing fan who genuinely understands the historic significance of this fight happening in the UK, is the person whose decision ultimately settles the question. And the fact that his love for the sport extends to wanting British fight fans to have something they will remember forever is genuine grounds for optimism among the people hoping to watch this fight from their own country, rather than from a time zone that requires a 3 a.m. alarm.